So 73% of people report that it is the single most stressful factor in their entire lives.
Yeah, that's a wild statistic.
Right. I mean, it causes more anxiety than politics, more friction than religion, and incredibly, it causes more chronic stress than the actual prospect of death itself.
Which is saying something.
It really is. It's like the ultimate modern taboo. We all think about it constantly, yet we actively avoid talking about it directly.
You're talking about money, aren't you?
I am. It operates like this, I don't know, this shadow over our decision-making, just dictating our stress levels while remaining completely unexamined by most people.
Unexamined and just, deeply misunderstood.
Exactly. So, welcome to today's deep dive. We are tackling that shadow head on. Our mission today is to decode a clear, actionable framework for making better financial and life decisions for you.
And we have a really fascinating stack of sources for this one.
We do. We're looking at book reviews, some really analytical blog posts, and multiple in-depth interview transcripts featuring Dr. Brian Portnoy.
Right, he's a behavioral finance expert.
Yep. And the author of The Geometry of Wealth, How to Shape a Life of Money and Meaning.
What's really compelling to me about Portnoy's approach is actually what he leaves out.
How do you mean?
Well, when people try to solve financial stress, they almost always reach for a spreadsheet. They
Right.
try to apply mathematics.
Oh, sure. Compound interest, return rates, algorithmic optimization, all that stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Portnoy asks us to just throw the spreadsheet away temporarily.
Which is kind of refreshing.
It is.
Yeah.
We are looking at this strictly through the lens of psychology and behavioral economics, really focusing on the massive gap between accumulating money and actually achieving wealth.
Let's unpack that fundamental distinction right there because it really drives everything else in the sources. The difference between being rich and being wealthy.
It's a huge difference.
Now, for an informed audience, the cliche that money doesn't buy happiness isn't exactly new. But Portnoy explores the psychological trap of simply chasing, well, more.
Yeah, because being rich is defined purely by a number. It's just the endless pursuit of more money, higher status, better things. But it's a physiological trap driven by hedonic adaptation.
Hedonic adaptation. So the treadmill.
Exactly, the
Yeah.
hedonic treadmill. Human neurology is just remarkably efficient at normalizing our environment.
Right, like when you get a significant raise or you move into a bigger house, you experience this acute spike in dopamine. It feels incredible.
Well, it feels amazing for like a minute.
Yeah, but then within a few months, your brain just resets.
It resets, and that new luxury just becomes your invisible baseline.
Right.
And because of that adaptation, the pursuit of being rich is literally a treadmill. You are expending massive amounts of energy, but emotionally,
You remain in the exact same place.
you haven't moved an inch.
Okay, I mean, I understand the mechanism of the treadmill, but if we possess the self-awareness to recognize that the thrill of a new purchase fades, why are we still so chronically obsessed with out-earning our peers?
Oh, the comparison game.
Yeah, like why do we care what the neighbor drives? The sources mention this study that highlights this comparison trap, and I gotta say, the results are baffling.
Oh, I know the study you're talking about.
Yeah,
It perfectly illustrates the irrationality of our financial behavior.
walk us through it.
So, researchers gave participants a hypothetical choice. Scenario A, you earn $50,000 a year, but your neighbor earns $30,000.
Okay, so you make more than the neighbor.
Right. Then scenario B, you earn $100,000 a year, but your neighbor earns $200,000.
But wait, in scenario B, you have double the absolute purchasing power. You are objectively in a much better financial position.
You'd think it's a no-brainer, right? But a majority of respondents actually chose scenario A.
They chose to make 50 grand instead of 100 grand.
Yes, they preferred to have less absolute money, provided they had more relative wealth than their neighbor.
That's insane.
They literally chose to be poorer just to maintain a higher position in the local hierarchy.
That seems like an incredibly destructive way to live. I mean, measuring your success entirely by someone else's perceived failure.
It is destructive, especially in a modern economy. But you have to understand, it's an ingrained evolutionary survival mechanism.
Oh, like from our hunter-gatherer days?
Exactly. For hundreds of thousands of years, being at the top of your local social hierarchy meant better access to food, shelter, mates. It literally meant survival.
So we're basically biologically hardwired to scan our environment to make sure we aren't falling behind the tribe.
We can't help it. But today, with infinite visibility through social media, you aren't just comparing yourself to your neighbor anymore.
Right, you're comparing yourself to the curated highlights of the entire world.
which guarantees perpetual misery.
Yeah, no wonder we're all stressed. Which I guess introduces Portnoy's antidote. He abandons the concept of being rich entirely and introduces what he calls the ultimate goal, funded contentment.
Funded contentment. Such a great phrase.
It is, because true wealth isn't a specific numerical target. It's simply the ability to underwrite a meaningful life.
Right. You aren't optimizing for the biggest pile of cash. You are optimizing for a life you actually enjoy living.
Which kind of reverses the traditional financial planning model, doesn't it?
Totally. The old model basically asks, how much money can I accumulate before I die?
Right.
But funded contentment asks you to first define what a meaningful life looks like to you personally, and then figure out how to mathematically afford that specific life.
Okay, but that brings up the obvious hurdle. Defining a meaningful life is notoriously difficult.
It's the hardest part.
Yeah, so Portnoy relies on basic geometry to map this out, starting with the circle, and the circle represents purpose.
And he deliberately chooses a circle rather than a straight line for this.
Because life isn't a straight line.
Exactly. Life is round, it is messy, it's highly nonlinear. The assumption that you can just set a rigid financial goal at age 25 and march uninterrupted toward it until you're 65 is a total fantasy.
Yeah, things change.
They do. Portnoy actually anchors his whole philosophy on adaptation. He cites that Japanese proverb, fall 7 times, stand up 8.
I love that one.
Your purpose isn't a fixed destination. It's an evolving target that requires deep resilience as your circumstances change.
So to give that messy circle some actual structure, the sources break down 4 touchstones of a contented life. He calls them the 4 C's.
Right, the psychological pillars of meaning.
Let's go through them.
So the first is connection. We're a tribal species, and we require deep, authentic social relationships to function optimally.
Makes sense.
The second is control. This is the desire for autonomy. It's the psychological need to feel like you are the author of your own story, rather than just a passenger reacting to someone else's agenda.
I really want to focus on control for a moment because the traditional pursuit of money often completely sacrifices autonomy.
Oh,
Like the higher you climb the corporate ladder, the less control you actually seem to have over your own time. You belong to your clients or your board or your shareholders.
And that ties right into the third C, which is competence. And it often conflicts with control in that exact way you just mentioned.
How so?
Well, competence is the deep satisfaction of mastering a skill or a vocation. But you can be highly competent in a prestigious career, but if you lack control and connection, you will still experience profound burnout.
Oh, right. Because you're good at it, but you have no life.
Exactly. And then the final C is context. This is the human need to attach ourselves to something larger than our own existence.
Like a community or a cause.
Yeah, a community, a set of beliefs, a charitable cause, religion, whatever it is for you.
Portnoy's own career trajectory is actually a perfect case study of these 4 C's in conflict.
It really is.
According to the transcripts, he earned a PhD in political science from the University of Chicago. He was on this golden path to a prestigious, tenured professorship.
High status, high competence.
Exactly. But he was broke, he was miserable, and he felt completely alienated by the academic culture.
So he was succeeding according to society's definition of achievement, but it was entirely disconnected from his internal definition of meaning.
Right, he lacked connection with his peers, and he felt a total lack of control over his future.
And taking action on that realization is where things get really complicated, because it's easy to discuss finding purpose, theoretically, right?
Sure, on paper it sounds great.
But in the year 2000, Portnoy actually walked away from that academic track. He took a job at an investment research firm called Morningstar.
And his starting salary was what, $41,000 a year?
Yeah, 41 grand.
Duh.
Taking a massive pay cut and abandoning a prestigious trajectory like that requires immense conviction.
He had to completely step off the treadmill of external expectations.
He did. He realized this really crucial truth about human nature. The academic peers who might judge his departure, they didn't actually care about his daily happiness.
Right, they might express a fleeting opinion about his career change at a dinner party or something.
But then they would immediately return to thinking about their own lives.
Exactly, so he traded perceived social status for actual control and connection.
He effectively funded his own contentment.
Which is brilliant. And the sources also highlight a highly practical tactic for cultivating that contentment in everyday life, which they call constructive selfishness.
Which sounds a bit contradictory, I'll admit.
It does, but the premise is that acting generously actually engineers your own happiness.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like leaving an unusually large tip for a barista or taking 3 minutes to write a detailed positive review for an Uber driver or service worker.
So you are performing an act for someone else.
But the neuroscience shows these small actions provide a massive dopamine boost to your own brain.
You're hacking your neurochemistry.
Essentially, yes.
That's great. It's a micro investment in that fourth C, context. You're actively connecting yourself to the broader human experience in a positive way, which elevates your own baseline of contentment.
So the circle helps us define our why. It clarifies those 4 C's and gives us a philosophical target. But as we know, philosophy doesn't pay the mortgage.
Unfortunately not.
Right, we have to move from defining purpose to actually executing a strategy. Which brings us to the triangle, which represents our priorities.
And the triangle forces us to rank our financial imperatives in a strict hierarchy. It has 3 sequential points: protect, match, and reach.
And you cannot move to a higher level until the base is completely secure.
That's the most important rule.
So let's explore the mechanics of that base level. Protect. What does protection actually entail beyond just, buying life insurance?
Behaviorally, protect is really about mitigating catastrophic risk so that your mind doesn't panic during a crisis.
Okay.
It means holding highly liquid emergency funds.
Yeah.
Because if you face a sudden medical bill or a job loss, you don't want to be forced to liquidate your long-term investments during a market downturn just to survive.
Oh, I see. You're building a financial moat around your emotional well-being.
I love that phrasing, yes.
Yeah.
A financial moat.
So once that moat is established, the second point of the triangle is match. Portnoy describes this as matching what you own versus what you owe.
Right. In institutional finance, this is called asset liability matching.
Sounds complicated.
It's not, really. Think of your life as just a series of future liabilities. You need capital to buy a house in 5 years. You need capital to fund retirement in 25 years.
Okay.
Match requires assigning specific assets to specific timelines. You aren't just accumulating a giant pool of money and vaguely hoping it sustains you forever.
Right.
You're mathematically tying conservative assets to near-term needs and growth assets to long-term needs.
That would significantly reduce the daily anxiety of investing. I mean, if I know my living expenses for the next 5 years are fully funded by stable assets, I am totally insulated from whatever the stock market does tomorrow.
Exactly, which grants you the psychological freedom to pursue the top of the triangle, which is reach.
Reach, so aspiration.
Yes. Once you are protected and matched, you finally have the operational security to take real risks. You can start a business, you can invest in volatile high-growth assets, or you can massively increase your charitable giving.
But I'm guessing people mess this order up.
All the time. The fatal flaw most investors make is starting at reach.
Right. They pursue high-yield crypto or meme stocks before they've even built the defensive moat.
Which exposes them to total ruin. They skip the foundation and then wonder why the structure collapses.
It makes so much sense when you lay it out like that. And that brings us to the final geometric shape, the square.
That's a square.
This represents tactics, the actual mechanics of investing. Portnoy points out that the financial services industry thrives on complexity.
Oh, they love it.
Like Morningstar tracks over 110 different investment categories. How are you supposed to navigate that without becoming completely overwhelmed?
Well, first you have to recognize that complexity is a product the industry sells. It's designed to make you feel dependent on them.
Ah, job security.
Exactly. Portnoy aggressively simplifies this tactical universe. The 4 corners of the square represent a framework for just 3 primary objectives: growth, reliable income, and protection.
Okay, I want to challenge the simplicity of those 3 objectives for a second. How do they actually function together in a real portfolio? Because growth is straightforward. You need your capital to outpace inflation.
Right.
And reliable income provides the cash flow for daily life. But how do you balance growth and protection simultaneously? They seem diametrically opposed to me.
That tension right there is the core puzzle of portfolio construction. Growth assets, like global equities, are inherently volatile.
Yeah.
They protect your purchasing power over decades, sure, but they can experience a 30% drawdown in a single year.
Which is terrifying.
It is.
Yeah.
But protection assets like cash or short-term treasury bonds, they defend against those sudden market crashes. But the downside is they slowly lose value to inflation over time.
Right.
So the square is really about blending these tools so you have income for today, protection for tomorrow's emergencies, and growth for your future self.
Okay, so we've outlined a remarkably clean framework here. The circle defines purpose, the triangle dictates priorities, the square governs tactics.
It's elegant.
It is. But if the geometry is this straightforward, why do highly educated, incredibly successful professionals routinely self-destruct when managing their wealth?
Because a logical framework is completely useless against human biology.
Biology.
Yeah. This introduces the work of Nobel laureate Daniel Kahneman into the discussion. Kahneman pioneered behavioral economics by proving that human beings are just fundamentally irrational when making decisions under conditions of uncertainty.
Like when we exhibit behaviors like panic selling our entire portfolio during a recession.
And then greed buying at the absolute peak of a market bubble. Yes, we consistently do the exact opposite of what the math requires.
Why do we do that?
Kahneman argued these cognitive biases are not flaws in our programming. They are actually the features that kept us alive.
Wait, how does panic selling keep us alive?
Well, not in the market, but in nature. For hundreds of thousands of years, humans survived by reacting instantly to threats and hoarding resources when they were available.
Oh, right. If you see a lion, you don't calculate the odds, you just run.
Exactly. Our brains are beautifully optimized for surviving sudden dangers on the savannah, but they're disastrously equipped for managing a modern investment portfolio.
Because in investing, the mathematically correct response to a terrifying market crash is usual to do absolutely nothing.
Which goes against every instinct in your body.
I found a detail in the transcripts about Kahneman himself that is just staggering to me.
Oh, about his own investing.
Yeah. The man who won a Nobel Prize for documenting these exact cognitive traps admitted that he couldn't turn them off in his own mind.
It's so humbling.
He possessed total intellectual awareness of his biases, yet his brain still fell victim to them.
And think about what that means for the rest of us. If the founder of behavioral economics cannot outsmart his own amygdala, it fundamentally changes how we need to approach financial planning.
It ceases to be an IQ problem.
Exactly. Math and intelligence are insufficient. The future of financial success is entirely dependent on emotional intelligence, or EQ.
Portnoy makes a fascinating comparison here. He notes that while IQ is largely static, you're born with what you have, EQ is highly malleable. It's a muscle.
You can train it.
Right. He likens developing your EQ to training in a CrossFit gym that contains 4 specific workout stations.
I like this analogy. The first station is self-awareness. You really have to learn to recognize your own physical and emotional triggers around money.
Like noticing when your heart rate spikes checking your portfolio.
Yes. The second station is self-regulation. This is the critical ability to feel that evolutionary panic when the market drops, acknowledge the fear, and then consciously decide not to act on it.
That sounds really hard.
It's very hard. The third station is empathy, understanding the complex emotions and hidden motivations of the people you share finances with, like a spouse or a business partner.
Right, because money fights are rarely just about the math.
Almost never. And the fourth station is social skills, which is the ability to communicate effectively and navigate conflicts regarding those financial decisions.
So you have to put in the reps at all 4 stations.
You do. And this concept of training EQ really redefines the role of professional financial advice, I think. It champions a concept called adaptive simplicity.
Meaning, if you hire a financial advisor, you shouldn't be paying them to predict the next recession or pick the perfect stock for you.
No, because the data proves that consistent market timing is impossible anyway.
So what are you paying them for?
The true value of a financial professional is behavioral coaching. They act as an external shock absorber for your internal emotional volatility.
I like that, a shock absorber.
Yeah. Their job is to help you ignore the panic-inducing headlines, simplify your tactical decisions, and keep you adhered to the triangle when your biology is screaming at you to do something completely irrational.
Because technical expertise is a prerequisite, but it's utterly useless if you're driving 100 miles an hour in the wrong direction. So to kind of synthesize the journey of this deep dive today, the anxiety and dread that surrounds money in our culture, it really stems from playing the wrong game entirely. We exhaust ourselves chasing rich, which is just this endless, unwinnable comparison trap.
It's the treadmill.
To escape that stress, you must build wealth. You must fund your contentment.
And you start by defining your circle. Your unique purpose supported by connection, control, competence, and context.
Then you establish your triangle, protecting your downside, matching your assets to your liabilities, and only then reaching for aspiration.
Next, you deploy your square, balancing growth, income, and protection.
And crucially, you ruthlessly train your emotional intelligence to keep your evolutionary biases in check.
For you listening right now, I think the most liberating takeaway from Portnoy's work is that you have permission.
Permission for what?
You have permission to completely ignore the noise of the financial media. You have permission to step off the status treadmill entirely. You do not need to optimize your lifestyle to impress strangers who aren't even really paying attention to you anyway.
You only need to make choices that underwrite the specific things that give your life meaning.
And to help you anchor that meaning, the sources detail a really profound visualization exercise.
Oh, this is good.
Yeah. I want you to imagine your future self 20 years from today, but visualize that future self in a state of absolute calm and complete peace of mind. What does that environment look like? Who is sitting at the table with you? How are you spending your Tuesday morning?
Getting a really sharp, clear picture of that peaceful future self.
Exactly. And once you have it, ask yourself one critical question. What would that future version of you deeply regret not doing today?
Wow.
Determine exactly what that regret is. Then leverage your money, your time, and your focus right now to guarantee that regret never materializes.
Money does not have to be the shadow hanging over your life. When you align it with your geometry, it simply becomes the tool that allows you to write a better ending. Keep questioning the defaults, keep training your EQ, and keep exploring.